UiPath Integration Service. This is a presentation from the I Love Automation Discord community. All links will be in the description below, including an invitation for you to join the Discord for free. Let's get started. We are ready.
We have almost 39
Hello
people.
and welcome to our first town hall. We have a real UiPath expert with us. We have Satish. Satish will teach us about a very advanced UiPath topic today. Hey Satish, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about you? And I hope I'll be able to present a good demonstration of UiPath Integration Services to work with different enterprise applications.
I'm sure you will. I know you're probably one of the smartest UiPath people I know. So let's see what you have for us. And to everyone out here, thanks for joining our first town hall. So excited that we could get this going. Thank Neo for being the lead on this. This is awesome. And Satish, the stage is yours.
All right. So I hope you're able to see my presentation screen. But before starting with the presentation, I would like to go with, showcase you how we should be able to use a UiPath integration services. And then probably I'll talk about much detail about how and where it can be used in your automation use cases, right? So you're able to see my screen, which shows UiPath Integration Services trigger, right?
Yep.
So let's, for a few minutes, forget about that. So I'm bringing the ServiceNow instance in front of you. And what I'm going to do here is I'll be creating an incident. And the moment I create an incident, my automation will trigger automatically. It's not unattended bot. It is not attended bot. It will be working on the basis of an incident that is going to be created in a ServiceNow. So that is working on the basis of event that is going to generate from the ServiceNow. So for sake of simplicity, I already have a couple of incidents. So I'll open one and I'll clone it so that every field and every detail is copied, right? And I'll simply put the caller here, which is system administrator, and submit it. So I have created an incident, and now I'll bring this UiPath integration service screen in front of you. As of now, you see that, the moment incident event will be triggered, you'll see a line item here coming up, and my robot will trigger automatically a job in next couple of seconds. As of now, this event works on a polling mechanism, right? So it waits for a couple of minutes before it can trigger automation, usually around 120 seconds. So allow it's 120 seconds, and then you will see the real magic happening. UiPath bot automatically triggering and then doing all the stuffs. And just to showcase you, it will not only integrate with ServiceNow, but it will be also posting the details on a Teams channel, right? And then you will see the incident is getting posted here and the incident is getting completed. So we'll see a real use case where ServiceNow, Microsoft Teams integrated together along with some UI automation that I'm going to do on a website. So just wait for a couple of seconds. You can see the job started processing. You can see that UI got changed. It's typing user ID and password. And it's a very famous example I have taken from UIRD certification that used to happen in the past, right? We go, we create, some MD hash and submit a task.
I think this UiPath example was actually some kind of an advanced test in the UiPath Academy like 2 or 3 years back.
Yes, that's exactly. And so it is the same, example I have taken. The way it is working now is a little different. Previously, we used to read the data from Excel, and now I'm getting a data input from a ServiceNow ticket when incident is getting created. So you can see that job has completed now in a couple of seconds. And when I refresh this page, okay, you'll see there is a line item appearing at the bottom saying that there was an incident and that got successful, right? So this is the use case that we are going to learn today. I'll explain you how you should be able to build this entire workflow with the help of UiPath integration services, connections, connectors, events, and then if you need to build a custom connector, how you should be able to build a custom connector, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excited? So should I go and jump to
Yeah,
Yeah.
very excited, Satish, here. And if you are as excited as me out there, give Satish your favorite emoji in the chat. And Satish, we will continue.
All right. So, guys, let me start quickly. Go back to my presentation first because I want to cover, certain items before I can go to UiPath Studio, and then probably I'll discuss. Okay. So let me move to my presentation. Oh, this is an introduction about myself. So I'll probably take a minute to introduce myself. So I'm total having, 12 years of experience almost in IT industry. I worked on a various roles, ranging from IT development to maintenance to data analytics, data warehouse and production support roles also. And in last 5 years, I am continuously working on RPA, Blue Prism and UiPath tool both. I trained a lot of RPA, folks in India and also working as a solution architect at one of the leading service-based company in Delhi NCR. Apart from that, I am also part of UiPath MVP group. So I go and participate into a lot of UiPath community events and in-person meetup that happens, in my nearby cities. And I do have my own blog, which is rpabotsworld.com. So I'll ping this link. So if you can visit and you can find some detailed article about some of the new feature that we get about the UiPath. All right, so let me quickly move about the agenda that I'll be covering today. Okay, so I'll be covering what is UiPath Integration Service, right? How it works, how you should be able to build a trigger based on the UiPath Integration Services. I'll, I have already showcased you the demo, which connects ServiceNow, Teams, and the website, right? But I'll talk about in details how you should be able to integrate all these three pieces together to make the use cases. And at the end of this, session, I'll be talking about how you should be able to build a custom connectors, right? So let me quickly go and talk about some detail about what is UiPath integration services, how it works, why it is required, right? So UiPath integration service is nothing new. To be very honest, there are APIs in a market, right? So you can communicate with the other external system or subsystem with the help of API, right? Integration services are also API, right? But it's a bundled API which is coming as a part of a solution that is being provided by the UiPath. So you don't need to worry about the nitty-gritty of the API calls. You don't need to understand those, right? What you need to know is what input I should be passing to the integration services and what output I need to get, right? And the goal is very simple. So let's take example of any big organization, right? And in the big organization, there are a lot of enterprise applications are used. ServiceNow is a one example. CRM is another example. SAP is another example. Microsoft products are another example, right? So you have lot many systems, and if you want to automate your process, you need to communicate with all of these processes. So UiPath Integration Services gives you a better way to connect all of these enterprise applications and communicate with each other in a bi-directional mode, right? So far, what we are doing when we are using an API, what we are doing, we are sending some request and then response is being provided by that external system, right? We are not working in a way when the external system is sending some signals or sending some events so that my automation can trigger. So trigger is a one good example which provides you events from the external system, and that provides you the flexibility so that you can automatically start automation in your UiPath orchestrator. As of now, when I'm talking, there are almost 60 plus connectors available on a UiPath integration services portal. And on top of it, as I told you, that you should be able to build your custom connectors too, right? So with the help of this, you should be able to, connect the applications together at a faster way, right? Guys, if you have any question or if you feel
We,
that I am going too far,
we have one
yeah.
question from Doc River Rat. Hello, Doc River Rat, and welcome to the session. Doc River Rat asks, is this UiPath cloud only, or will on-premise installs get this, and what version would that be in?
Okay, so as of now, it is on UiPath Cloud only. It's a cloud offering only. UiPath team has started to do some testing around that whether they should be able to provide on-premise or not. But it is still not out. They are still testing inside the preview. So we don't know the exact date when it will come on, on-premise. But as of now, it is available on the cloud variant, right?
Cool. And Sheki gives a
All
good
right.
tip in the chat that you can adjust each speaker's sound setting so they matches. I think one of us is speaking really loud and the rest of us is speaking low. So you can adjust it on an individual level. And back to you, Satish.
All right, so let's talk about what are the key concepts that is used inside the UiPath integration services, right? So UiPath integration services are, a build of three basic blocks. One is a connector, second one is a connection, and third one is a trigger, right? Connector is nothing but as I told you that these are nothing but a bundled API, right? So connectors are nothing but a bundled API so that what you need to do is you need to provide the authentication informations and then your connection is established with the target application, right? And once you establish a connection, using that connection, you should be able to use activities inside your studio. So that is the connection. And then the third part is the triggers, right? Trigger is nothing but easy way to subscribe the event that is happening in a third party system, right? So say, for example, you want to, create a SAP user, right? So for creating a SAP user, you are waiting for a ticket has to be created in a ServiceNow, right? So you can design your automation in such a way that the moment a ticket is created, a service task is created in a ServiceNow, it should send you an event, right? And that event is being captured by the trigger, and then trigger will trigger the automation that you have built in your UiPath Studio. So that's how it works. So for explaining all of these things, I'll go to the UiPath Orchestrator and I'll explain you how these tabs look like. Okay. So I'll quickly go here on UiPath Orchestrator. Okay. And I'll click on integration services. I am already on a trigger page. So you can see these three tabs. One is connectors. So here you will see all the connectors that has been provided by the UiPath, right? Lot of connectors are pretty much familiar. You can see GitHub is there, Coupa is here, Gmail is here, Google Drive is here, and lot of very popular enterprise applications are listed here, right? And then you have a connections. So if you want to use any connectors, for any connector to be used inside your process, you need to make a connection with the third party system. So here you can see that I have three connections listed. One connection is for the ServiceNow, another connection is for Microsoft Team, and then I have another connection for the Slack, right? So in this example or in this demo, I have shown you that I have used the ServiceNow and Microsoft Team. So what all things will be required to making the connection, I'll showcase you. So what you need to do for making a connection with any third party system, you need to click on add connection and what type of connector you are going to use, right? So if you're going to use a ServiceNow, you need to click a ServiceNow and then it will ask you for a couple of things, right? It will ask you for where is your ServiceNow, what is the client ID and the client secret. Those who do not understand what is the client ID and client secret, it's basically an authentication mechanism through which you should be able to communicate with your ServiceNow instance, right? In most of the cases, you don't need to worry about it. Reason being, it will be given by your ServiceNow administrator. But if you want to know how you can create it, I should be able to guide that too, right? But for that, you need to have your administrative account ready with you. So if you need that, let me know. I'll showcase you that as well. But all you need to do is provide the client ID and the client secret and click on connect. The moment you click connect, right, the connection will be established and it will be listed here. Okay. So once this connection is established and listed, you should be able to use this connection inside your UiPath Studio to build your automation. And how you should be able to do it, I'll showcase you in next couple of minutes. Okay. Before that, going to the studio, I'll also explain what is trigger. And this is really, really important to understand how it works and what all things you can define here, right? one might ask that I have a 10,000 incidents coming every day, how I should be able to filter only incident which is required for my automation to work, right? Or how I should be able to change the timing of my incident to be looked after every 2 minutes to 60 minutes, because I do not want to consume the licenses of keep polling every other minute, right? So those kind of things, how you should be able to configure it, I'll just quickly showcase you. So for a trigger to be added, what you need to do is you need two things. One is your process has to be published already in the orchestrator, right? And it is because it requires unattended license. So you can use either non-production license or unattended license. Other licenses will not work. Okay. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to select the which connector connection you want to use for a trigger. Okay. It's little slow in its.
I see a lot of connectors there.
Yeah, it has a lot of connectors, so I'll probably go by this way. So the moment you select the connector, all the connections with that particular connector will come. So one might ask that, can I define many connections? Yes, you can define many connections. One connection could be pointing to your UAT, another connection could be pointing to your production environment, right? So you should be able to, for one connector, multiple connection can be established, right? Now,
Satish,
so you need to select the.
you're crazy fast. You already answered questions before seeing them. That was Doc River Rat that asked about that you can have multiple questions. So great presentation, Satish, and please continue.
All right. So the next thing is that you need to select the event that you want to subscribe, right? So ServiceNow is a very useful product, right? It contains a lot of information, not only in terms of incident, but it is also used for a knowledge DB, right? And the asset
Wait,
management.
wait.
Yeah.
ServiceNow is not useful. It is very cumbersome to use. So many tickets every day. I get crazy, trying to solve them.
Okay. So I'll help you how you can be able to filter the number of record that you want to process. That is the next
Okay.
thing I'm going to
Wow.
come. So, right, the first thing that you need to do is you need to select on what kind of event you want your process to be triggered. Do you want to run your automation when an incident is created, or a new record is created? So you'll see why only incident is listed here. Why not service tickets are listed here, or change request is not listed here, right? So all those things are in a generic, right? In a generic table. So here, if no new record is created, here you should be able to see all those tables which is inside the ServiceNow. Lot of tables are there. So in practical, you should be able to use any table that is present in ServiceNow. So whether it is a change request, or whether it's a service task, or whether it is an asset or a knowledge DB or anything, right? But for sake of simplicity, what I'll do for this example, I'll use when a new incident is created. Okay. Now one can ask, what about if my service now is getting more than 1,000 tickets, every other hour? So how I need to filter the tickets which I need for my automation to work, right? So for that, what you can do, you can add conditions, right? And conditions can be applied on different fields, right? So when it is, say for example, my ticket should contain this particular keyword, or my ticket should be coming from CEO of a company, or my ticket should be assigned to this assignment group. All those filters you should be able to build here. Say, for example, caller is XYZ person, and you should be able to put multiple condition too, right? It's not a only. So you should be able to put a multiple condition. The only thing is that as of now, this condition only support and or. So you need to build your logic in such a way that by putting and or logical operators, you should be able to build your complex, filter conditions, right? So the next condition that I can put is opened yesterday. And I only want to look for those tickets, right? So by using this, you should be able to add the conditions, right? I'm not going to add this. I'll delete it. And then in the right side of the pane, what you need to do is you need to select the process which you want to run. One thing that you need to note here is how different the process should be when you want to integrate with the integration service. So the one thing that you need to know is you need to define these 4 parameters inside your main program of the automation so that your UiPath integration services can trigger your process. So for that, it's pretty simple. All you need to do is in the argument of your main, you need to define these 4 variables. And UiPath is working on these values as a key value pair. So you can't change the name, how they are written. So you need to copy paste it from the documentation of UiPath site, right? You can't change it. So these 4 things has to be defined inside the argument of your main program so that the event that is happening on the ServiceNow will be triggered, and that will be coming here in these 4 variables. So I'll showcase you the value of this variable too, what is coming as a part of this variable, what is coming as a part of event, what is object ID, and what is object type, right? So that's the reason you see these all 4 parameters defined here, okay? And the moment you select this process and the runtime, and I told you the runtime, the only runtime that work as of now is non-production and unattended. In future, other can work, but for now it is not. Most of them are not working. Okay, so as of now it is non-production and unattended can work only. Okay, so this is all with the triggers. So you have defined the trigger, but you will say, I have defined the trigger, but I have not created the process. So in process or in studio, how you should be able to design a process, that I'll come now, right? Any question before I move there? Any question on trigger, anything you are not able to understand, or do you think?
We actually have a question.
Mhm.
Couple of questions. One is, can you have multiple connectors for the same service which point to different connectors / triggers for different use cases?
Yes, we can. Absolutely, yes. So it is not one-to-one mapping. It is, one-to-many mapping, right? So for same connection, you can define a different name too. And I can showcase you one more thing. So here in the connections, if you look at the connections and if you click on the manage triggers, right? So as of now, you can see that, I have one trigger, right? And I have changed the setting to check for the event every 2 minutes, right? You should be also able to change the polling interval, right? This was previously not available. UiPath only supports, 5 minutes, but now they have given the custom setting. So you should be able to configure when you want to poll your ServiceNow
Well,
incident.
I
Yeah.
think when originally I saw the session, that time this was not available, right, Satish? Or is this very recent?
Yeah. Yeah. This is
See,
very recent. They
UiPath
released
gods
it.
has us.
Yeah.
And guys, this
So
is crucial because based on what you define here, automatically, I believe that's the frequency it's going to be using a resource to poll the service to actually get,
yeah.
if there was an event or not. So if you increase, it's going to, use more resources on your environment. And if you, less resources on your environment. And obviously, if you decrease it, it's going to use more resources because it's going to be pinging frequently. So be aware about what you set here based on your own process.
So for most of the examples, unless it is super critical and you are using a trading system or a crypto system, keep it 5 minutes. Okay. So that I wanted to explain here. And let's quickly go back to UiPath Studio now. Okay. There was a question, can we use a RE framework? Yes, obviously we can use a RE framework. There is no challenge into it. In fact, this example is also using some of the files from the RE framework, not exactly the RE framework in a same form and shape, because I do not want to get data from Q or Excel because my data point is event that is coming from third-party system, which is ServiceNow. It could be Microsoft Team. It could be, any other third-party system. So that's the reason, we are not using RE framework in a same form and shape. So what I have done is I have used couple of, uh, workflow files or YAML files from the RE framework, and I designed it to put it very simple so that you understand how it works correctly. Okay. So this is a very small workflow. So in it, all I am doing is I am killing all the process. Pretty simple. I am killing the Excel, Chrome, and everything. And then init setting, I am reading all the configuration variable because I need to go to that portal. I need to read the credentials so that it can log in and all those kind of things. And then here I am printing what all information is coming from the event, right? Just for audit purpose, so that I understand for which incident what has happened, right? Then inside the input from Snow, I have created a separate YAML file for this, which is inside this folder, because I logically separated the code which is for website, which is for the ServiceNow, which is for the team, and which is for the Slack. So it is just a segregation. And I'll open this get incident. So what you need to do is, for this, you need to first install the package which is available on UiPath manage packages, right? So you need to install this UiPath ServiceNow.integration services. And once you install it, you will have integration services coming, and here you should be able to see all of those activities, right? So we have all of these activities. So for integration services to work, very similar to what we have in Excel activities, we use the first thing is ServiceNow scope. So the first thing that you need to put here is a ServiceNow scope. And then the moment you put a ServiceNow scope, you need to click on configure. The moment you click on configure, it will automatically showcase you the connection that is established on your orchestrator. So you don't need to define anything here, right? You should be able to select it from directly from the orchestrator. People has already asked, why can't we change the, put it into a variable coming from the config and all those things. So hopefully in future, you will see that you should be able to define inside the config variable. But as of now, it is making direct connection between your orchestrator. So if you have multiple connections listed there, you'll see the multiple connections here. And you should be able to test a connection from there. The best part about the integration services that I love is, rather than going the API way, is because if you go API way, you need to understand the model of the API that returns by the ServiceNow, right? So say, for example, you want to close an incident, right? So close, from a drop down, you can select close, right? But when you call an API, you need to set the value that is 5, right? And similarly for the priority, if it is a low, it is a 0. If it is a high, it is 5, right? So you need to remember all of those models to send the data in an API. But if you work with the integration services, it's pretty easy. So once once you have this service now, what you can do is you can pull this get record, or any other what you want to do. Say for example, you want to list a record, you want to update a record, or for my example, what I'm doing, I am getting a data from incident. So I pull this activity from here and click on this configure object. This is really, really useful, guys, because it will give you all the column that is present inside the incident table. So you don't need to worry about the model of the API, what I'll send and what I'll get, right? So here you'll see the direction. So what I need to send is the incident ID, and what I can get is all of these fields, right? And this, by the way, I configure. If I need to get any additional field, I can do by clicking here on add multiple fields. And then it will show all the fields that is available inside the incident table. Pretty useful, pretty powerful. You should be able to get any data kept inside a child table too, without understanding the model of the API. So that I really
I think
love.
this is very important because there's so many APIs out there, and it's very difficult to remember the mapping of different APIs. And having something like this as an interface in the GUI, it's very helpful for somebody who's not extremely technical to actually start using it, and experimenting around with the entire service. I think that's a very good feature. Thank you, Satish, for highlighting it.
Right. So say, for example, I want to see, approval history, right, which was not previously selected. So what I can do is I can select this and click on done. Okay. The moment I click on done, it will appear at the end, and whatever the data it is coming from here, I can define my, variable here, and then the data will go into that variable, right? So this way, you should be able to decide what data you want to receive from the incident table, right?
I like the fact that you're using the best practices like out in your variable names. You're a good RPA developer.
That I need to do because I need to review a code of my 22-member team too, right? So, all right. So this is how, you should be able to get the incident, right? Guys, any question before I move to the other part? How, you
Yeah,
should be.
let's pause here for 5 minutes and
Yeah.
take some questions and discuss. So I think we have a few questions still pending to be answered. I think one is for license use. Does that mean for this trigger you are consuming a robot license and you lose a license for a regular day-to-day robot?
No, it's not that way. For event, you are not consuming a robot license. Robot license will be only consumed the moment you get a process triggers. Okay, so to help answer this question, I'll bring my UiPath Orchestrator here and I'll help you explain what I'm trying to say. Okay, so what will happen is you have a process, right? So I have this process which is running here and you can see the jobs, right? The job would be the same, and the only thing that will change is the source. So now it is an event trigger. Can you see this column, right? So the robot license will be only utilized when there is a job which is triggered by some event source. And
It's more
here
of
when
an ad hoc usage, on-demand usage.
on-demand users, right? And one thing that you could see here is I was telling a few minutes back what all value you will get in those 4 parameters, right? So for UiPath event connector, you'll be getting the name of the connector which you are connecting to. Event will be what event has happened, and then what is the type of object that you are getting incident, and what is the event object ID. So this will be useful, and the object ID is a unique ID through which you should be able. It's like a sys ID. So if you know, ServiceNow works on a sys ID. So every record that is inside a table, they have a sys ID. So this object ID is nothing but their sys ID. So using this sys ID, you should be able to get any data from the ServiceNow.
Thank you, Satish. The next question is, can one connection and trigger configuration be reused across different automation projects?
Yes. A trigger cannot be used because you can say, if you want to, using a one connection, if you want to trigger a multiple process, that means the process that you are designing should have branching, right? And based on certain condition, you should be able to branch out your process. But on the basis of one trigger, you should be able to, trigger one process. That process can work on any type of workflow, right?
But it's one-to-one mapping. That's what you're saying.
It's a one-to-one mapping.
Okay, thank you. The next question is about polling interval. What will happen if 2 or more incidents are created before the poll? Are we going to receive the ID of the first one or ... question mark?
Okay, this is really interesting question. Okay, and lot of discussion has happened on this. And not only discussion happened on the basis of what will happen if there are 2 more incident created on the basis of poll. How you should be able to get those, right? So there are a lot of design methods are available here, right? So as of now, this how it works. How it event works is it is returning you one sys ID, right? That means you'll be getting one record, right? That will be processed by your process. But what will happen if there are more records? You will see here. I'll go to the trigger page and I'll help you explain what I'm trying to say. So if you go here, so what will happen is every event will be listed here. So for every event, say for example, there are 10 incidents that has come, then there will be 10 events. And then here you will see on the orchestrator that 10-time process has been triggered, right? So it is not working on the bulk event. In future, we might have such feature, but as of now, no.
Okay, thank you.
So you need, yeah. And just to add, one more thing here, and this is really, really important. Okay, what will happen if there is an incident that has appeared here, and somehow your process got failed? Is there a way you can retry, right? And if even after 5 retry, the process is still failing, what will happen with those incidents, right? And what will happen if there is something wrong with your UI and the process keep failing, right? Even after 100 triggers has been triggered, right? Because none of these items comes as a free, right? You need to buy a UiPath Integration Services license, which comes as a bundle, right? So for every API call, UiPath is charging you. So that means if you are
Exactly.
not, yeah. So for that means if you are not able to work with the particular record that you received from the ServiceNow, what should be the way to stop your bot, or what should be way to resume your bot, right? So as of now, UiPath had given a feature that if there are more than 10 failure, or maybe 10, it is configurable by the way. So if there are more than 10 consecutive failures, your trigger will automatically disable. That means you are no more consuming the license. And then
License.
next time when you enable the trigger, you should be able to get all those events subscribed, right?
Okay. And one final question before we actually move forward with the session. Which version of Studio slash Orchestrator does this require? Can we build custom integrations?
Yes, custom integration will build. I'll showcase you the example of custom integration. Hopefully, UiPath Orchestrator will work for that. And for using the UiPath integration services, you have to be minimum on 21.10. Before that, this feature was not available. So if you are on above 21.10, you should be able to use it. There is no challenge in using it.
Thank you.
Okay.
So now let's move forward with the session. And don't worry, guys, we'll have another Q&A session after this final demo from Satish.
All right, guys. So this is, I'm getting an incident record here, right? And after that incident record, I am doing some string manipulation just for the sake of simplicity so that I can, read the required field from the incident table. It's like, I'll showcase you. So in incident table, I think it get closed when you have, my process, when my process run, it kills the Chrome. So my incident is getting closed. So what I did here is, sorry, I need to go to incidents and all. And this is the incident that I have created, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm reading these, description field, and I'm doing a, string operation to split on the basis of column so that I get all these values, and these values will be passed to the next workflow, which is going to work on a different portal. Okay. So
Before you start, can you just give a brief, like what exactly is this doing again? Because a lot of people have joined late. A quick overview about what is the explanation that you're going to be giving about.
all right. So
Just a 1 minute summary.
all right. So basically, what we have built into this example is, the moment you create an incident here, right? There is a very famous example from UiPath AIRD certification 2 years back, right? You need to calculate the MD hash and you need to apply that to the work item, and then you publish your code and that you get a UIRD certification, right? So, okay. So this, what in this example I'm doing is I'm reading this. I'm going to that website, which is here. I'll bring that website for you as well so that I'll just log in. So I'm going to this website here. I'm logging into this and I go to work item. And then in the work item, I search for a work item, or simply you can say, no, this is not a client. This is not a exact type of, I need to select this one, right? Because in my code, I am using the one where I need to calculate this, right? So bot will open this. Bot will click on update work item. Bot will put the comment, change the status to completed, then close it, and then close the system. And once that is done, it will come back to the ServiceNow, and then it will say incident has been closed as well. So it's not only communicating from ServiceNow to UiPath, but also it's communicating from UiPath to ServiceNow back, so that your incident is getting closed along with the proper justification or the comment that you put into, right? You can see the ticket has been completed successfully. So this is the additional comment that I am putting into. And not only this, I'm also posting the same information on the team. So the moment I receive an incident, it will post a message here. Please look into the incident number this. You may reach out for additional. It's just a verbiage that I have written here. Nothing to do with the automation, but just to showcase how you should be able to post the information of the incident on a Teams. And once that incident has been closed, you should be able to post another message. So just to showcase that, in the same way that how you're integrating with the ServiceNow, you should be also able to integrate Microsoft Teams, Slack, and a lot of other applications out there, right? Got it, guys? So let me quickly, quickly go back here. So this is how you can work with the ServiceNow integration services. And similarly, I'll showcase you how you should be able to work with Microsoft Team notification. And again, Microsoft Teams is in a preview. It is not out there for the production use, right? Team is still working on that. But what you need for this also, what you need to do is build a connection first. And once you build a connection, you should be able to see your connection here. And then the next thing that you need to do is you need to get the channel, right, where you want to post the information. So in my Teams, this is my Teams. In my Teams, I created a channel just for the testing purpose, which is incidents. And I need to get the channel ID. So there are multiple ways to get a channel ID. You can call an API, or you can straight away use this activity. Because I have only one, so it will showcase all the channels, and I know because I have only one, so I can select this, and then I'll use this channel ID to type the message. So that's the only thing that you need to do in a Microsoft Team configuration. 2 steps. One is set up a connection in the orchestrator and select the channel where you want to post the message, and then it have only couple of activities as of now. In future, they might come with lot of more activities, but as of now, it's very simple. What you can do is in channel you can create these things, and in chat you should be able to post a message and all those kind of things, right? So it's still in preview. Production will be coming with 23.4. So let's wait for that. So hopefully we'll have more activities available, so that we should be able to build more use case around the Microsoft Team notifications. All right, guys. So this is pretty much with the UiPath integration services. And next I'm going to talk about how you should be able to build a custom connector. Before that, do you have any other questions to ask about integration services? And I'll be giving this code. So I'll be posting my GitHub repository link as well. So you should be able to download it, and you should be able to play around it. So don't worry about it if you are not able to get what I'm doing into some of this workflow. I'll be posting that code in a chat for you guys.
Thank you, Satish. That's very generous of you.
That's really great.
By the way,
with the code, Satish. And Matthew says, cool. Wanted to utilize some Teams notifications in my automation. So he's glad that you show him that. It's a really cool presentation, Satish.
Yeah. So this is my GitHub repo. You will find all of my blogs, article that I have written, and use case that I have created. They're all present here, so you should be able to download that. Most of them are they are not they are of complex nature, usually CI/CD, integration services, and all those kind of things. Usually not a basic demo, but most of these demos are pretty advanced. So you should be able to download all of those codes. And I have done a lot of demos on DevOps side, so you can use my all of these repositories from here.
Guys, bookmark this. It's a treasure trove.
All right, so let's move to the next part of this presentation, how you should be able to build your custom connector, right? So we have seen there are 60 connectors available, right? But still, there are chances that the connector that you wish to use is not available there, right? So what you can do, if you have an API, right? So from API, you should be able to build a custom connector. And it's a pretty easy, straightforward 2 steps process. And then you should be able to utilize your custom connector inside your UiPath Studio. So for that, what you need to do is, okay, so for that, I'll quickly go to, sorry for switching my screen. I have too many things open. So I'll go to UiPath Integration Services and then connectors. And then you need to click on this add new connectors, right? Okay. And then you need to click on create new connector. And then you have 2 options here, from local file and from URL. Okay. And just to let you know, if you look at here, it is still in preview. So it is not production rollout. The team is still working on. There are some limitation in terms that it only support JSON-based API. If your API is returning data in a XAML or XML or any other format, it is not going to work as of now. And then there are a couple of limitations in terms of authentication, how your API authentication works. So how you should be able to get a data with a different kind of authentication, I'll showcase you. So for sake of simplicity, what I'll do is I'll build a connector in front of you. And for this, I'll be using a dummy API, which is available on this portal. So I'll be using this API, okay? And this API is nothing but open API given by some NGO-based company. So you should be able to utilize it for your testing and all those purposes, right? So for this API, I'll be building a custom connector, and then I'll be using that into your UiPath Studio. I don't know it will work or not, because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, right? And a couple of hours back, I tried. It is working on staging environment, but not working in a production environment of cloud or
Just
cloud.
like our RPA robots, huh? Sometimes
Yes.
they work, sometimes they don't.
So if it doesn't work in a first try, I'll switch my orchestrator to a different environment, and then I'll try again. Okay. So you need to bear with me for that. All right. So this is the API. This is the documentation, and for each of these endpoint, I want to build a custom connector that will be used in a UiPath integration services. Great. So let me go back to Orchestrator again, and how I should be able to use. So for integration services, as I told you, I'm using this one, right? So what I need to do is I need to give this detail URL here and put it here. Okay. The beauty of this is you don't need to write any code. In just couple of clicks, you should be able to build a custom connector. The only thing that you need to understand is the basic working of how it works, right? So just recall it. So for connector, when we are using the ServiceNow connector, we use 2 things, right? One is authentication, client ID and client secret. We put those right at the URL. So that is the base URL. And then we have client ID and client secret for the authentication. So similarly here also, we need to configure 2 things. One is what data we want to get from this API, and then how my client will be authenticating with this connector. Okay. So without any delay, I'll click on continue. And the moment you click on continue, all the methods that is available on that portal, which is here, automatically imported into your orchestrator. So I'll bring this side by side so that you understand what I'm trying to say. Right? So all these methods are available here, all this pet, then store, then users, And then this is a definition of the model, how you'll be getting data. All right. So now I do not want to build my custom connector, which can contains all these operations. All I want is I want to perform only operation to get, some of the paid details. So I'll select only the required operation and I'll give some name, say for example, demo. And I'll say demo here because I already have with the similar name. So I'll do this and click on create. All right. So this will be created and now it will ask you for how you want your, authentication to happen with this custom connector. The first thing that you need to define is authentication, right? As of now, only these types of authentications are supported, which is more than enough. But still, there are some authentication out there in a market which cannot be utilized as of now. For this example, I'll be using the API key authentication because this, API supports two kind of authentication. One is, if you click here, auth2, another one is the API key. So I'll be using this type of authentication for my custom connector to work. Okay. So I'll copy this key just for testing purpose, and then I'll come back here. Guys, feel free to stop me if you are not able to understand. This is really, really important. Okay. So what I'm trying to do here is I defined what all things I need to get from the custom connector. Okay. Now I need to define how I should be able to authenticate my API calls. So I said that I'll be using API key. And then in the value, I'll say this is my value because I copied it from here, special key, just. It will ask to the user because I have selected ask to the user as yes. So when they create a connection, it will ask them to pass their value. It is just I put it so that I can test it. Okay. You don't need to put it because this is by default set to ask to the user. Okay. Now the authentication is done. So now I should be able to add a connection. So the moment I click add a connection, this type of page will come. By the way, you should be able to put a logo here as well. I have not put any logo, but you should be able to put a logo. And the moment you put an API key, because I have put the default value, that's the reason its default value is coming. I click on connect. So the authentication between the orchestrator and the pet store API has been done. Okay. Now I'll go back to the base API. So for base API, I'm not doing anything. This is usually useful when you have a lot of data being returned from your API. Say, for example, 1,000 records are there and you want to only return 100 records per API call. So you should be able to configure all of those. But let's go back to our operations. Okay, so we have these three types of operations. For getting a pet, we have get, pet by their ID. Post, that means we want to create a new pet. And put, if you want to delete that, right? So these are three types of operation that you can perform. Get and post, we can talk about. Put and delete is a pretty old method because same thing can be done by the get and post. But still some people prefer to use put. I personally don't like. Okay. So now the get by ID. So what is get by ID? Okay. So for this, I'll go back to this API again. Okay. So for get, I am trying to build a custom connector for this one. Okay. So I'll click on get and I need to try it out. So for trying it out, I need some pet ID because I know some of IDs. That's the reason I'm putting it here. So I'll put 12. The moment I'll put a 12, you'll get a data like this. So this pet ID is for a doggy, right? And nothing more, no more information, no photo URL, nothing there. But if you put pet ID as a 12, you'll be getting this data, right? The beauty of the custom connector is you don't need to define any of these things. It will automatically come on the custom connector portal. All you need to do is define that I need to pass this 12 as a parameter to this API call. Okay. So I'll go back here and you can see that by default, it has selected that pet ID has to be passed. So I'll do passed 12 here because that's what I tested. And I'll do here And then in the response field, you see that there is no response field here, right? What data you want to get back? So there are multiple ways to do it. So what you can do is you can go here and you can copy this response body from here. Okay. And you come back and come here and generate from payload. Just type this and generate. Sorry, I need to select what kind of response is. I forget to check this checkbox. Magic. So you can see that whatever the data that I can get from that API has automatically appeared here. So in 2 minutes, you are able to define what input I need to send to API and what all output I can get from this API. Right? Let's test it. So I'll test it. I'll pass 12 because by default I have passed 12. Execute it. So you'll see that response is coming here. So that means everything is working perfectly. Now I'll try to, yeah. No, not for a change. The problem is not here, problem is when you are trying to publish it. Sometimes publishing is not working. So that is happening with this cloud prod URL, but it is good with the staging URL. So if it doesn't work here, I'll go to stage URL and I'll publish from there.
Let's say our prayers.
So that's if it doesn't work on this prod, I'll go to the staging path and from there I'll publish. So I know it most of the time it doesn't work. So after defining all of these things, so I defined only for this one, right? Similarly, you need to define for all of your endpoints. Okay. And then all you need to do is hit on publish. If you want to create a documentation, give the URL and click on publish. So let's see. No, it is not getting published. So this is the problem as of now. Don't worry about it. I'll publish on staging. That's the reason I have this. So I need to repeat the same.
Always prepared.
I already prepared for this because I know this is how UiPath.
That's the quality of a RPA developer. You're prepared for everything. You have try catches everywhere, retries everywhere because things are gonna blow up somewhere or the other.
No, because I tried a couple of hours back. You can see here I'm able to publish it. So I need to do the same step. I do pretty fast without explaining. Okay, so that.
Let's time him, guys. How fast can you do this? Let's time him. Okay, your time starts now. Go. How fast can you build a custom connector?
No stress, Satish.
No. Only name I need to change, otherwise it will be a duplicate.
30 seconds.
And then I need to go to authentication, change the authentication to API key. And then, and then I need to go to this portal because I need to copy this special key.
1 minute almost.
It will be done within 2 minutes, don't worry. That's it. And then I go here. So I have a pet ID and then I will configure just 12 just to test it. Connection. Yeah, paste it here. Connected. And now in the response field, I already have those responses. See, in the prod, you are not able to see because I need to prepare this. But in the staging, you could see because UiPath has improved it. So automatically it is coming now. Right. And now what I'll do is I'll send a request for 12 to see how it is coming. So data is coming. Everything is good. Publish it.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
Yes.
Oh my God!
So this is published now, and so this is something going wrong with UiPath Cloud. I asked these guys, but they have not fixed it, so I can't do much. So now once you have this connector, created, next thing that you need to do is you need to go to connection, and from connection you need to create a connector. By default, it is already there. You can see this, right? because I tried while testing it. Okay, so this is how you need to do. And then once you are done with the custom connector, how you should be able to use that inside a studio. It is a little different than other connectors, right? Because for other connector, they have given you the activities, but for your custom connector, there is no activity, right? So for your custom connector, you need to use this UiPath Connector Builder Integration Services activity. It's a generic activity. It will work with any custom connector that you will build. Okay. So how you can do that? I have example, and unfortunately I can't run it because my studio is connected to cloud, which is here, and it is not connected to here where I published it. So, but I can
Satish,
showcase. Yeah.
I know we'll have another session just for this example, also knowing you.
Right. So what you need to do then is go to connector builder. This will come. Okay. And then you need to bring this. You need to configure. And here nothing is coming up because on this orchestrator, I don't have anything. Let me try to see if I can disconnect from here and connect to that.
While you do that, I think we can take some questions.
Yeah, guys,
Which have been pending.
I don't know.
Let me just scroll up. Fine. Okay. So the next question is from who is the next lucky guy? Okay. Somebody wanted an example on NetSuite connector, but I think that'll take a little more time. So I asked them to connect over LinkedIn with you. Shaky has a good question. Can you route the request through a gateway on your network?
As of
Shaky
now,
is there
no.
on the call.
As of now, there is no, uh, there is no mechanism through which you can direct to proxies and all those things. So as of now, it's very basic. But yeah.
And the
There's
next
more.
question is, what if some fields in response/requests are optional? Are you able to modify schema generated by Orchestrator later?
Yes, obviously we can do. So I can showcase you now only.
Okay.
So go to
And then I think we have one more question after this.
this was the connector that I have done, right? So for that, what you need to do is, edit will not come directly as of now, right? It requires some permissioning. I don't have that permission set up. So there, what you can do for this, what you can do is you can. There is a way to do it. I'm not fine. I'm not recalling it. I've done that, but what you can do is, when the response is generated, right? There you can do it.
It's possible, in short.
And it's possible. I can showcase you. But it's because from here you
See,
won't get a option to. Yeah, now
the
it comes.
question was if it's possible or not. No worries if the demo is not feasible.
It's possible.
Because
You can see here. Come delete field. Delete. Right. Delete. So that's pretty easy, straightforward. 2 minutes task. Yeah, should be able to change it.
all right. And one question. Any idea on how to use integration service to monitor Facebook ad events? Have you ever thought about that?
Facebook ad events. As of now, there is no connectors for the Meta APIs. So I think somebody need to build it. As of now, it is not there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are there in this chat who saw this session. I'm sure somebody will take the inspiration and develop something like that. Why not?
Yeah.
So Satish, are you done with the agenda for today, or is there something left in the agenda?
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not connecting with that staging environment, guys. So
No worries.
otherwise, this is pretty straightforward. All you need to do is build this connect. Similar to what I have done for the service now, right? So your connection will come here. Your custom connection will come, and then whatever the object you want to get. Say for example, I need to get a record, right? So the moment I click the get record here, test a connection, and then in configure object, that get pit will come. So you should be able to get the detail of all the pit. It's very simple, similar to that.
Thank you for that. Guys, I think we are a little over schedule, but we can have 5 minutes of any other questions. One final ask. Any other question, guys? You can even give feedback on the session. Feel free to do that.
To see if I can change the connection settings.
While Satish is experimenting around. So thanks a lot, Satish. Really good. Great presentation, Satish. You rock.
I think it's got connected. Let me see.
Wow. See, keep the good feedback coming, guys. It's working. The positive energy.
I think so. It got connected. Let me see. No, not yet.
We need more positive energy. No worries. Oh, Satish, I think you should. We'll post your LinkedIn and other details in the chat so that people can, reach out to you in case they want further, guidance on this particular topic.
Yeah, I'll sure. I'll do that.
Mods, can one of you please post his LinkedIn profile if you have it handy?
Yeah, I'm about to find it here. I'll post it in 1 second.
Oh, great.
This is me, guys. You can.
I posted it in the chat as well.
You should really update that photograph.
This is a pretty old photo.
Exactly.
It's a pretty old photo. Still, yeah. All right. So now you can see the connection, right? All these connections are coming. I'll select this connection.
Yeah.
So it is connected. I need to select for all these. Still not coming. It takes a while. Every time I say it is not working, then it works. Right.
It's just like our RP automation. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
No, it will come in 23.4, right? So by 23.4, it will be pretty stable, right? So UiPath is still experimenting a lot of features into it, but it's really good because see, what will happen if you change API and then you ask a developer to build these custom connectors and all those kind of things. It takes a while to build a custom connector, and if you want to control it centrally from many people has asked me why you need integration services if there is a direct API route, right?
I asked that question.
No, not only you. I mean, a lot of people has asked, right? Because I can do the same thing through API directly, right? Why I need a custom connector to build? The beauty here is you are controlling the way behavior of your API. One is abstraction, right? You want to only control the field that is, you want to out from that API or in from your API, right? Other thing is that you are controlling the connection mechanism. So the same connection will be used across all the automation that you will be building using that connector, right? So those are the some of these benefit. It's like
Replication,
yeah,
and easy repository for these kind of
yeah,
connections.
yeah.
We have one question. Can we already use the connector in enterprise version?
Yes, you can use it.
It's available.
I think it's available, but I think if you go here and let me showcase you something. So wherever you don't see see a preview, don't use that. Apart from that, you should be able to use others.
All right, thank you. So I think we can close today's session. I think it was a wonderful presentation from you, Satish. Any final comments? I think Anders can take over from here. Anders and Satish.
Yeah, Satish, thanks a lot for joining us and showing us such a nice live build. We definitely learned a lot, and I did as well. And to you people out there, thanks a lot for joining our first town hall. Thanks to Neo and Nova for putting this together and the moderators for being here. It worked. It didn't fail or anything, Neo. So great work between you and Satish. Thanks for that.
So guys, we might give you a feedback form of some sort maybe after this session. And whatever you want in future in such town halls, feel free to give us your comments in that feedback so that we know what kind of content you're looking for. I know this one was for UiPath, but we'll be covering different tools and different topics. Some of them may be technical in nature. Some of them may be, more managerial or best practices. But the idea is to basically educate the community about RPA and anything new or interesting happening in the RPA world. And I hope all of you follow Anders. That's why you're here. So you can always, subscribe to his channel and ensure that you're updated on everything.
Thanks a lot, Satish, and to everyone joining. If you want to join the I Love Automation Discord, I created a video that will guide you through the entire setup and get started process.